Philip's first love pushed me down the stairs. I lost the 2-month-old baby just like that. Philip came to see me in the hospital room, his tone obscure. Angela was provoked at the time, out of control. You know about her condition. I shook my head gently, my pale face devoid of any color. Forget it. Maybe it's for the best. He thought I had given in like before and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Thank you, Audrey. I'll definitely have her come and apologize to you. Do you think you could write a letter of forgiveness? She can't stay at the police station forever. We're still young. We can have more children. But Angela can't handle too much stress. I took the divorce agreement out of the drawer. You sign this, and I'll sign the letter of understanding. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Philip's expression suddenly stiffened, anger flashing across his face. Audrey. What time is it now? Are you still making a scene? Seeing the bloodshot eyes fixed on him, Philip's gaze dimmed. I know you resent her. Do you think I don't feel heartbroken for our child? But there are priorities. The child is gone anyway, yet she's in there terrified, at risk of a breakdown at any moment. The pain and blood loss left me exceptionally weak. I didn't want to waste any more words on him, so I closed my eyes and burrowed under the covers. Get out, I said coldly, after a while. A soft sigh and the sound of a closing door reached my ears. Listening to the fading footsteps, tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. The warm fluid gushing out beneath me carried away all the warmth from my body. The pain and cold made me involuntarily curl my body into a tight ball. Just moments ago, I witnessed a mass of flesh being separated from my own body. The surgeon expressed some regret, yet I felt little sorrow, instead a sense of relief. The last remaining tie between Philip and me has finally been severed. The way he was just now, so furious and agitated, suggests that getting a divorce might still be a bit difficult. But I bet he'll sign it, because he can't bear to let Angela, the one who caused my miscarriage, suffer even the slightest grievance. Philip and Angela grew up together, both from equally privileged backgrounds. Angela has always been fond of Philip, and both families intended to match them up, unfortunately. The gentle and refined young master of the Carter family had no interest in the arrogant and domineering Miss Way. Despite her persistent pursuit for 10 years, he remained unmoved. Later, he even fell in love with and married an ordinary girl like me. There were many opposing voices in between. Angela caused even more inexplicable troubles, but Philip overcame all difficulties and finally walked into the marriage hall with me. I will never forget the night before the wedding. When he held my hand and planted a deep kiss. Audrey, you are the most wonderful girl in the world. As long as we love each other, no one can stop us. Tears welled up in my eyes with emotion, and I made a devout vow in my heart. As long as we love each other, no one can stop us. But what if we stop loving each other? On the wedding day, Angela couldn't handle the stress and went out alone to drown her sorrows, only to be violated by a group of thugs, upon receiving the news. Philip was in the middle of a toast. He threw down his glass and rushed out, leaving the guests in the room staring at each other in confusion. At that time, I didn't blame Philip at all and was very worried about Angela. I knew that Philip couldn't bear such a thing. After explaining to the guests that Philip had an emergency and asking my parents and relatives to help host, I took off my wedding dress and hurried to the hospital. Philip waited outside the emergency room with his head in his hands, the groom's boutonniere still pinned to his black suit, his eyes bloodshot. He looked at me. Audrey, was I really too harsh? I heard that Angela has been in a coma. Angela's father didn't say a word and directly punched Philip. It's all because of you, you bastard. The usually proud Philip didn't even fight back, allowing Angela's parents to push, shove, and beat him. I tried to intervene and got punched a few times too. I know, Angela's family hates me too, but aside from avoiding them, I don't resent them at all. Compared to Angela's suffering, this really isn't much. Angela wasn't quite right mentally after she woke up, kept screaming hysterically, not allowing anyone to approach except Philip. I'm sorry, Audrey. I need to stay here with Angela. Philip spoke with a strained tone. I squeezed his hand to let him know it was all right. And so, I spent the first night of my marriage alone. The honeymoon naturally didn't happen either, because Angela's condition was extremely unstable. Philip had to stay by her side at all times. I had nothing to do, so I simply cancelled my wedding leave and went back to work. Anyway, Angela doesn't want to see me at all. My mentor and boss said in surprise when they saw me. Audrey, aren't you supposed to be on your honeymoon? I smiled. Philip is too busy, so the honeymoon has to be postponed. The mentor's eyes lit up. That's great. There are a few tricky cases at hand, and I was worried no one would take over when you left. I shook my head helplessly. My mentor, a workaholic, wishes everyone would be just like him, eating and sleeping at the clinic. And so, Philip and I spent the most bizarre honeymoon imaginable. I was busy with work. and he was busy accompanying other women. Angela gradually recovered, and we all breathed a sigh of relief. I thought life could get back on track, but little did I know. This was just the beginning of the nightmare. Angela could call and take Philip away at any time. During our belated honeymoon, Philip left me at the airport, he left me at the restaurant on my birthday, he left me in bed when we were intimate. Angela is like a radar, able to precisely detect when I'm with Philip and then have an episode, every time. Philip only gives me a guilty look. Sorry Audrey. Angela had another episode. I'm sure you understand. I understand, so I didn't make a scene. Until my return banquet was held, because Philip suddenly left during the wedding, my parents were quite upset, feeling that I had been wronged. Relatives, friends, and colleagues were also whispering, worried that something had gone wrong between me and Philip. Angela, after recovering, a remorseful Philip offered to host a homecoming banquet for me. He said he wanted everyone to know that the bond between us remained as strong as ever. I initially declined, thinking it was too much trouble. But he insisted repeatedly, not wanting to let down his sincere intentions. I gladly agreed. The banquet that day invited all my relatives, friends, and colleagues. Even Philip's parents came to attend. Originally, they didn't approve of our marriage, but Philip managed to persuade them both. It was as if we were holding a small wedding ceremony all over again. To say I wasn't touched would be a lie. He knew the grievances I had suffered, so he deliberately used such a grand gesture to make up for it. The gloom in my heart vanished completely. But just as everyone was egging us on to share our love story, Philip's phone rang again. I had a bad feeling. I immediately grabbed his hand to stop him from answering, shaking my head at him emphatically. Philip looked at me, then at the eyes watching us from below, and reluctantly withdrew his hand, but the phone kept ringing like a relentless alarm. Philip's face grew increasingly grim, until finally, sorry Audrey, I need to take this call, it's Angela. Tears welled in my eyes as I stubbornly clung to his arm and growled, Philip, I don't care, you're the one who wanted this homecoming banquet, you need to see it through to the end. Yet he slowly withdrew his arm from my embrace, inch by inch. Audrey, be good. I'm just answering the phone, I won't leave. But in the end, he still left, because Angela was standing on the rooftop, and if Philip didn't go, she would jump. I stood frozen on the stage, my parents' fury and the sympathetic yet gossip-filled gazes of relatives and colleagues piercing my back like thorns. Even Philip's parents couldn't bear to watch. They shook their heads and sighed, unsure who to blame, and could only utter, what a sin. That night, Philip and I had an unprecedented, fierce argument. Audrey, have a little sympathy, will you? When I got there, Angela was about to jump. How could I just stand by and do nothing? What a coincidence. Nothing happens usually, but she specifically chooses to jump on the day of my return banquet, I said with a face full of sarcasm. How can you be so harsh? A life is at stake, and all you care about is your return banquet. My face turned pale with anger. Philip, don't forget. It was you who said you would prove yourself to my parents and friends, yet once again you abandoned me in front of everyone. Is this how you prove it? He felt a momentary guilt and softened his tone. I know you're upset, but compared to Angela's life, none of this matters. But if she stays like this forever, are we supposed to never live our lives? Audrey, he seemed to be holding back. You should understand best why I care so much about Angela's situation. I thought you would understand me, but I never expected you to. I suddenly looked up. If I didn't understand you, how could I have tolerated her again and again? I can't believe these words are coming from you. You're a professional, you should know how much this hurts her. I could no longer hold back. It's precisely because I'm a professional that I think she's faking it. She simply can't stand seeing us together. Philip rubbed his temples wearily. So what? We grew up together. She's like a sister to me. She's suffered so much, I'd do anything to help her get back on her feet. What does it matter if I have to play a few tricks? I was stunned. So he knew everything all along, it's just that he chose to sacrifice me. That's all. In that case, I no longer need to force myself to endure. After this thought crossed my mind, I paid much less attention to Philip. I just watched coldly as he and Angela played their parts, one feigning madness, the other endlessly indulging. Fortunately, I had my career, so I threw myself into work with even greater focus. In just half a year, I completed 2 academic papers in psychology, both published in prestigious academic journals at home and abroad. What made me happiest was my advisor's reaction. I was initially worried that marriage might affect your career, but it seems you haven't let me down. You truly are my most accomplished student. I gave a bitter smile. Losing in love but winning in career, that probably sums me up perfectly. Philip also noticed my aloofness and began to turn around, trying to win me back. Audrey, your favorite movie is showing. I booked tickets for tonight, let's go watch it together. He looked at me eagerly. Forget it. I don't want to end up watching the whole movie alone again. I said faintly. Philip lowered his head, unable to refute, as this situation had occurred countless times. In that case, why don't I cook a few dishes for you today? We can have a candlelit dinner at home too. Seeing the eager look in his eyes, I suddenly felt a bit reluctant to refuse. Seeing me nod, Philip went off cheerfully to prepare. Please have a seat, madam. Allow me to serve you properly today. He spread the tablecloth, lit the candles, and pulled out the dining chair with great ceremony. His attentive manner made me burst into laughter. The candlelight and red wine began to soften my previously cold and hardened heart. Philip held me close and whispered in my ear, "Audrey, I'm sorry, I love you." In the midst of passion, Philip's phone rang again. He awkwardly stopped. Angela, I snapped awake and pushed him down the stairs instantly. Audrey, get out. I really can't accept this. Angela, why does she keep taking my man away from me, time and time again? Philip looked at me in surprise as I pulled the door open and got into his car just as he was about to drive off. You said I'm a professional. I want to see what's really going on with Angela's illness. Philip moved his lips, but upon seeing my stern face, swallowed back the words he wanted to say. Arriving at Angela's house, we immediately heard the sound of things being smashed coming from her room. If Philip doesn't come soon, I'll slit my wrists. I frowned. Didn't Angela receive psychological counseling? What did the doctor say about this situation lasting so long? Seeing Philip also staring at them, Angela's parents said guiltily. The doctor called it post-traumatic stress disorder, saying it takes time to recover slowly. What a slow recovery, I sneered inwardly. Philip, as if unable to wait, rushed over and gently knocked on the door. Angela, it's me. The bedroom door swung open, and a tear-streaked Angela threw herself into Philip's arms. Philip, you finally came. Philip stood with arms outstretched, looking at me with an awkward expression. At this moment Angela finally noticed me beside him, her eyes widening instantly. What are you doing here, Angela? I flashed a professional smile. I came today specifically to see how I might assist you, perhaps with a psychological evaluation. Angela, there was a flicker of panic in her eyes before she pushed Philip away. Philip, did you think I was pretending? So you deliberately brought this woman to humiliate me? Her face was filled with grief and indignation. I know I'm in your way. Just go. Philip panicked. I don't have Angela. Don't misunderstand. He gave me a dissatisfied look, but I ignored him. Angela, avoiding treatment like this won't do, or it will only get worse. Philip was also wavering. Angela, why not let Audrey take a look at you? She's quite skilled in psychological counseling. Angela stared at the two of us, then suddenly crouched down and buried her head. Philip, if you married her, then I'll have to leave. She closed her eyes, her face full of pain, murmuring as if in delirium, No, don't come near me, please. Philip and I were completely baffled. Angela's mom immediately rushed over and held her. Stop pressuring her. Angela's memory reverts to that day whenever she gets stressed. She glared at me angrily. Audrey, you're not welcome here. Please leave. Philip was filled with regret at that moment. He picked up Angela, who was curled up on the ground, and gave me a cold look. Audrey, you should go back first. Your presence here will agitate Angela. I don't know if it's just my imagination. Philip was holding a seemingly distressed Angela, who, unnoticed by anyone, flashed a provocative smile at me. After leaving Angela's house, I let out a long, heavy sigh. The cold outdoor wind made me even more alert. Years of experience have convinced me that Angela's psychological trauma is fabricated. Since she has no issues, I can finally let go of the guilt in my heart. I used to think that Angela's situation had something to do with me. My previous constant forbearance wasn't entirely because of Philip, because I know what kind of trauma such an experience can inflict on a person, even when arguing and giving Philip the cold shoulder. I couldn't help but blame myself, wondering if I was being too selfish. It seems my kindness only made her push her luck. What Angela wanted, from beginning to end, was only Philip. Then let it be as she wishes. In the evening, when Philip dragged his exhausted body back home, I placed a divorce agreement in front of him. A flicker of anger crossed his face. Audrey, stop making a scene. Sign it, and we'll both be free. I gazed at him quietly. But you know, it's you I love. So you gave your love to me, but your body and time to Angela. Audrey, you know exactly why I'm like this. The man growled low, like a trapped beast struggling. You can't be this selfish. I stared at him in disbelief. It's you who's selfish, isn't it? You want me to bear the burden of your guilt. You don't want to blame yourself, yet you don't want to lose love either. You've taken all the good things in the world for yourself. He tried several times to say something, but in the end, he didn't speak. Be a man and take real responsibility for once. I pushed the divorce agreement forward. Call me when it's signed. With that, I picked up my already packed luggage and left home. after living in the rental for 2 months, Philip had cornered me downstairs at my clinic 4 times. The last time I saw him, I suddenly felt sick. He spat out a mouthful of sour fluid, his body going limp as he nearly collapsed to the ground. Panic-stricken, Philip immediately took me to the hospital. Despite my objections, the diagnosis came back. I was 2 months pregnant. No wonder I had been feeling unwell lately. I thought it was just exhaustion from working too much overtime. Counting back, it should have been that candlelit dinner. Philip immediately got as excited as a child. My feelings were mixed. This child really came at the worst time. Now, I had one more tie holding me back. It seemed as if Philip had made up his mind. Audrey, it's all fate. Heaven won't let you leave me. You're right, I can't take care of Angela forever. We have our own lives. I've decided, let's leave this place and go abroad, so Angela will never bother us again. I frowned. He would rather run away than face Angela directly. With a father like that, the child's genes can't be much better. I placed my hand on my stomach. Philip, fearing I might refuse to turn back, immediately informed both sets of parents about my pregnancy. Now I was bombarded by the 4 elders, kept under tight watch. Despite previous disagreements, my parents were still happy for me. Now that you have a child, you must live well together, they spoke earnestly, and the in-laws were even more anxious. This was their first grandchild, and they repeatedly insisted that Philip bring me back to live at their home. How can the 2 of you take care of yourselves properly? At home, there are a chef and a driver who can prepare nutritious meals for Audrey every day and even drive her to work. I have a terrible headache. I originally intended to act first and report later, but now the difficulty of getting a divorce has increased again. Philip doesn't care what I'm thinking. He's busy and bustling about. I know he's handing over the company's business and preparing to go abroad. It seems this time he's made up his mind to stay away from Angela. But how could Angela possibly let go? I heard that during this time, Angela had 2 more episodes and attempted suicide 3 times. Philip endured it all without going to see her. Finally, on that day, Philip held a small farewell banquet, inviting only relatives and close friends. At the banquet, he announced the news of my pregnancy. For a moment, everyone came to congratulate me. I looked at him thoughtfully, only to see him smiling back at me. Philip wants to tie me down this way, but he doesn't know that once I've made up my mind, I won't change it easily. I've decided, after going abroad, I'll change my route to another country. Once the separation period is long enough, even if Philip disagrees, we must divorce. I just didn't expect Angela to make a move before I did. Don't think that just because you're pregnant, you can steal Philip away. As I tumbled down the stairs, all I could see was Angela's vicious face. While I was standing by the stairs making a phone call, she suddenly appeared out of nowhere, trying to persuade Philip to leave me. Bitch, go to hell. Amid the screams, I saw Philip's terrified face, excruciating pain, then unconsciousness, noisy sounds in my ears, accompanied by Angela's pitiful crying. I didn't mean to. I don't know what came over me. Philip, she wanted to use mental issues to cover up the truth once again. Unfortunately, the hotel lobby's surveillance captured the entire process of her hiding behind the wall, moving with agile steps, and deliberately pushing me down the stairs, while I was unconscious. My furious parents and friends called the police. As the police took her away, Angela let out a hysterical scream. Philip panicked and reached out to stop them. Officer, she's ill, please let her go. Dad swung a fist to hit him but was firmly restrained by others. The police are still here, bastard. My daughter is fighting for her life, and you're still worried about the one who caused all this. Philip looked extremely grim. On one side was me, unconscious and being loaded into an ambulance. On one side was Angela, being taken away by the police. He was actually caught in a dilemma, unsure which side to go to for a moment. When my friend told me about this, I had just woken up not long ago, seeing her righteous indignation. I could only manage a weak smile. It's fine, I already knew. Actually, the moment I opened my eyes and didn't see Philip, I guessed where he was. My friend looked at me cautiously. Audrey, are you okay? I shook my head. That's just as well. Angela made the decision for him. The next day, Philip came again. He was unshaven and haggard, as if he were the one who had spent the night at the police station. Audrey, he pleaded, I know you hate her, but let's get her out first. I'm afraid if she stays one more day, something might really happen to her. I promise, I'll personally bring her to apologize to you then. The hospital door was suddenly pushed open, and both sets of parents stood outside, unsure how much of the conversation they had just overheard. Before I could react, Philip's father strode in and slapped him across the face. How dare you have the nerve to ask Audrey to help you with such a thing? His chest heaved with anger. Philip's mother, though her eyes showed heartache, did not stop him. That vicious woman caused me to lose my grandson, and you still think about saving her. It seems that, apart from Philip, everyone else still has a sound mind. Philip thudded to his knees, shedding tears for the first time. Dad, Mom, Angela became like this because of me. Have you forgotten that person? He suddenly stopped speaking. Carter family. Upon hearing this, the parents froze, tears welling up in their eyes. I didn't want to watch their act, so I coldly took out the divorce agreement. Philip, I told you, sign this, and I'll sign the letter of understanding. Audrey, Carter family parents still tried to stop me. My parents walked up to me, resolutely looking at them. Sign it. We don't want to get involved in your dispute with Angela's family, but if this continues, my daughter's life will be lost. Carter's parents had nothing more to say. Philip glanced at me. His childhood sweetheart was still waiting for him to save her. Finally, he tremblingly signed his name. I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. Under my parents' meticulous care, I quickly recovered. My complexion even looked better than before the divorce. When I went back to work, my supervisor clicked his tongue and said, I don't know whether to feel sorry for you or happy for you. How is it that getting a divorce seems to have given you a new lease on life? I laughed heartily. Of course it's a new lease on life. Just be happy for me. Angela. After being released, Philip still came to harass me a few times. He said he never wanted to divorce me in the first place and was forced into a corner at the time. With 1 month left in the cooling-off period, I was afraid he might change his mind. So I had a friend spread the news of our divorce. I believe Angela won't let this opportunity slip by. Once she finds out, she must have a way to make Philip unable to turn back. Approaching January, Angela stopped me downstairs at the clinic. I came to tell you, stop holding on to illusions, she said triumphantly, one hand protectively covering her lower abdomen. Philip and I have already. It won't be long before he has a child. With his feelings for me, how could he possibly still be with you? I raised an eyebrow. That fast? You can tell if you're pregnant right after sleeping together. Even high-tech isn't as bold as you. I couldn't help but laugh. She was furious with embarrassment. If I say there is, then there is. What do you know? My intuition is always right. Fine. Saying even one more word to such a lunatic would be too much. I tried to step around her to leave, but she grabbed my arm. You haven't answered me yet. You promise not to go back to find Philip. I coldly shook her off. Let go. Your little tricks can only fool Philip. I still reserve the right to pursue the matter of you causing my miscarriage last time. What? Do you want to add harassment to the list? Angela immediately released her grip and said viciously, You think only I have a handle on you? I've got a handle on you too. If you dare to bother Philip again, I'll ruin your reputation. After saying that, she stormed off angrily, leaving me with a puzzled look on my face. What kind of handle could she possibly have on me? Could it still ruin my reputation? I just can't stop worrying about Angela, that crazy woman. The fact that she caused my miscarriage still haunts me to this day, so I contacted a former senior of mine. After graduation, he originally worked in emotional counseling, but somehow ended up becoming a private detective, specializing in catching cheating spouses. Every time he's mentioned, the mentor is deeply distressed, saying he wasted his efforts and social resources. My senior brother saw me and grinned broadly. Oh, the top student actually needs me one day. Don't tell me even a successful and beautiful woman like you has a cheating husband. I shook my head helplessly and showed him the screenshot from Philip's social media of Angela's photo. I told him about my concerns. My senior brother looked serious. This isn't just an ordinary case of catching a mistress. It's related to your safety. Don't worry, I guarantee results within 3 days. After the cooling-off period ended, Philip and I went to get our divorce certificate. It had been a month since we last met. His eyes were dark and bruised, his face sallow, and he looked so haggard I could barely recognize him. This month, Angela must have given him a hard time. He stared at me for a long moment, stunned. Audrey, you've become even more beautiful than before, I smiled and said. Without the people and things that drain me, naturally, things are getting better and better. His eyes dimmed. When he signed, his hand trembled, his eyes filled with unwillingness. But he still didn't regret it. It seems Angela was telling the truth. From what I know of Philip, he would never let go so easily unless he had done something wrong, and he even swore to me, saying he only saw Angela as a sister. I am immensely grateful for my resolute decision back then. With the little notebook in hand, I turned and left without looking back. Audrey, he suddenly called out to me, next month, Caroline is returning home, and the family is hosting a welcome banquet. You and she are the best of friends. Will you come? He looked at me with longing, yet cautiously. I nodded softly. His face immediately lit up with joy, like a puppy trying to please its owner. Audrey, I'm sorry for what I did to you. I hope you won't hate me in the future. My heart stirred, and I was tempted to tell him what my senior brother had found out, but the thought only lasted a moment. What good would it do even if he knew? He might even think I'm jealous of Angela. It's just as well not to know. After all, he and Angela are destined to be tied together for life. The reason I agreed to Philip was actually because of Caroline. She is Philip's biological sister and also my best friend from university. It was through Caroline that I met Philip. Later, due to some changes, Caroline went abroad. After all these years, she finally decided to return. As early as a month ago, she contacted me and insisted that I accompany her to the dinner party hosted by the Carter family in her honor. At this dinner, the Carter family will formally introduce her, who has been out of the public eye for a long time, to the outside world. So, Caroline was extremely nervous. "Audrey, only with you by my side do I feel confident, please." She already knew about my divorce from Philip, so she couldn't help but express regret. "I couldn't attend your wedding, and I was hoping to make up for it with a wedding gift this time. But I didn't expect you two to have already separated." "That's perfect. Let's just pretend I never started with your brother, and begin everything anew," I said jokingly. Caroline relaxed her brows. "Audrey, you always manage to quickly ease my anxiety and unease." Having provided her with psychological counseling for so long, I understand how to soothe her emotions better than she does herself. "Don't worry, Caroline, I'll be with you." Many important figures attended the welcome banquet that day. The Carter family was going to formally introduce Caroline to their inner circle this time. Philip as the host, he naturally had to attend, but this time, the one on his arm was the elegantly dressed Angela. I had just divorced Philip. And many guests were still unaware of the news. Seeing the high-profile entrance of Angela, they all turned to look at me in unison, their faces showing surprise. Philip said nothing and did not reveal Angela's identity. It seems he has no intention of disclosing his relationship with Angela. Seeing me in the crowd, Philip's tired eyes lit up. The Angela beside him also noticed me, and her expression changed instantly. She quickly stepped forward and said in a shrill voice, "You're already divorced from Philip. Why are you still here?" There was an uproar all around. Philip immediately grabbed her arm, his face showing anger. "Angela, don't make a scene. Today is my sister's big day." And Caroline also stood in front of me. "I invited Audrey. She's my guest." Angela looked at the siblings standing ready for battle, her gaze growing even darker. In a moment, when no one was paying attention, she came to my side and lowered her voice. "Audrey, I warned you to stop pestering Philip. Since you wouldn't listen, don't blame me for what happens next." She gritted her teeth at me and left one last remark before turning away. "What happened 8 years ago you couldn't have forgotten. I'll ruin your reputation." 8 years ago, I was completely baffled. Thinking back carefully, something major did indeed happen 8 years ago. However, my heart skipped a beat, and I immediately dialed my senior's number. A sudden commotion at the banquet hall entrance caught the attention of the guests. The waiter came over and said there was a package for me, and the delivery person insisted on handing it to me in person. I walked to the door with a puzzled look, where a lean man in a delivery uniform was eyeing me with ill intent. He had a thuggish air about him, arguing loudly with the security guard at the entrance, saying he wouldn't leave until he saw me. A crowd had already gathered at the door. "What do you want from me?" I stepped forward and asked. He was taken aback at the sight of me, looking me up and down as if in disbelief. You're called Audrey." "Exactly." He glanced furtively behind me, his expression suddenly changing. "No, it can't be. Could it be a mistake? Audrey, are you okay?" From behind came Caroline's somewhat worried voice. Her voice cut off abruptly. I turned my head to look at her, only to see her staring straight at that person, her face frighteningly pale. The man also stared at her, unconsciously licking the corner of his mouth. A tilde. She trembled uncontrollably, crouching down with her head in her hands. I panicked. This was exactly how she acted during her previous episodes. "Isn't it already done?" I immediately rushed forward and hugged Caroline, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw that man trying to escape in the chaos. "Catch him!" In the blink of an eye, I shouted at the chaotic security guards and waiters. Although the security guard didn't understand what was happening, they rushed forward and pinned the man to the ground. The banquet was interrupted, and the guests were drawn by Caroline's screams. Philip pushed through the crowd and ran over, his face ashen. "What on earth is going on?" he roared. I looked up, my face ashen. "Philip, we might have found the killer from back then, 8 years ago. Caroline and I were still close friends sharing a dorm in college. But one time, Caroline, who had gone to the library to study, never returned all night. Both the Carter family and I searched frantically. Finally, just before dawn, Philip and I found the disheveled and unconscious Caroline in the small woods behind the campus, ahead of the police. After waking up, she acted as if she had gone mad. It was impossible to get any information about the perpetrator from her. To protect Caroline, the Carter family did not reveal a single detail about her assault to the public. It was only later that they announced Caroline would be studying abroad. At that time, I witnessed my friend transform from a bright and cheerful girl into a disoriented and pitiful state, and I was so heartbroken that I couldn't sleep all night, seeing her in such agony. I made up my mind to change my major and study under my mentor, becoming a psychological counselor. Caroline didn't open up to anyone, but she trusted me deeply, and eventually, I became her psychological counselor. I collaborated with overseas doctors to provide her with online therapy, and I flew abroad several times a year to stay with her for a while. Philip was very fond of his sister and often blamed himself for not being able to take better care of her. At that time, only the two of us understood the pain in each other's hearts. Because of the communication about Caroline's treatment progress, my contact with Philip increased more and more. As Caroline slowly improved, we developed a different kind of feeling, so when we heard that Angela had the same thing happen to her, we felt such sympathy for her. But later I discovered that Angela was faking it. The man at the police station refused to say why he caused trouble at the banquet, and Caroline is in a very unstable condition. None of us dare to provoke her further by having her come to the station to identify someone, just as that person was about to be released. My senior colleague who rushed over said something to the police. Later, the police found a USB drive on him. Inside were the photos taken when Caroline was assaulted. Philip smashed his fist against the wall with a ferocious expression, his hand bleeding. The police handled the case swiftly, and soon the man confessed to the crime, providing a shocking lead. Someone had paid him to commit the crime. And the mastermind behind it turned out to be Angela, he said. Angela showed him a photo on her phone, which had two girls in it. She said one of them had stolen her boyfriend and asked him to scare her a bit and take a few photos. Afraid of leaving evidence, Angela didn't give him the photo. The killer took a look, pounded his chest and agreed, but ended up targeting the wrong person. That day, after stopping the late-returning Caroline, he developed malicious intentions. Later, because they couldn't agree on the price, he refused to give the USB drive to Angela, so neither of them realized he had made a mistake. Philip heard this and stood there stunned for a long time, like a wooden statue. When the police brought Angela, Philip pinned her against the wall by the throat. His eyes were bloodshot. Why? If the police hadn't intervened, Angela would have been strangled to death. Angela collapsed to the ground, coughing violently. It's all because you don't even look at me. Yet you go out with this wretched woman. We recall that time when Caroline jokingly tried to set me up with Philip. Philip indulged his sister and was dragged along by her to hang out with us a few times. Just for show, none of us took it seriously back then. Little did I expect that Angela would notice and develop such a vicious and insane idea. Philip, I only meant to scare her a bit. I never thought that damn thug would mistake the target and then turn malicious. I didn't mean for it to happen. You have to forgive me, sobbed Tilda. The police said sternly, this person has a criminal record. Since you sought him out, you can't possibly hope to get away with it. Besides, the fact that you're still trying to threaten the victim with those old photos shows you have no intention of repenting. Philip gnashed his teeth. You were a victim yourself, how could you bear to? Because Angela was never assaulted, she fabricated the whole story herself. I said coldly from the side. What? Philip was wide-eyed with fury. The senior brother investigated Angela and found that she had been frequently calling and meeting with a stranger recently, vaguely plotting some kind of conspiracy. Based on the subtle clues from their conversations, Angela's victimization was completely fabricated. It was something she made up to provoke Philip's guilt. Why tell such a lie? Philip had never suffered as many blows in his entire life as he did today. At first, I just wanted to make you feel guilty, but I never expected you to become so obedient to me because of it. Angela looked up at him with longing. Philip, I didn't mean to deceive you. I really love you. Philip listened in a daze, then suddenly slapped himself hard twice. I ignored him, just looking at the dejected Angela on the ground. How could you be so foolish, letting the murderer threaten me? We've been struggling to find him. Angela looked up and said bitterly. After the incident back then, you made no move at all. I thought you were too ashamed to tell anyone. This time, I just wanted to make you back off. Back off, I sneered. That person had the photos from back then in hand, clearly well prepared. You just wanted to make those photos public at the banquet and completely ruin me. Angela turned her head away with a face full of resentment and unwillingness. Upon hearing this, Philip suddenly began to tremble all over. If Angela were to succeed and release the photos of Caroline being victimized, the consequences would be unimaginable. How could you? Philip wanted to charge forward again but was restrained by the police. Seeing Philip's face full of hatred, Angela suddenly burst into hysterical laughter. Philip, you'll never get rid of me in this lifetime. She touched her lower abdomen. I'm pregnant with your child, and I will definitely give birth to him. Ha ha ha. Philip immediately turned to look at me. his eyes full of panic. "Audrey, this is a misunderstanding. It was all her plan. I was drunk and thought it was you. I don't know what to say, so I just sighed. At a time like this, why are you saying all this? Whatever is between you and Angela has nothing to do with me. I've already learned what I wanted to know. He can clean up his own mess." The perpetrators from both on and off the stage back then have been apprehended, which has given Caroline the courage to move forward. And her recovery has been faster than we imagined. Although the past has left her with indelible scars, she has now grown incredibly strong. She and I are studying psychology together, and I know this is part of her process of self-healing. Angela was indisputably prosecuted and sent to prison. Just because she was pregnant and insisted on not having an abortion, everything had to be postponed. The Carter family was turned upside down. The Carter family parents would never allow the person who harmed their daughter to give birth to their grandchild. They hated the Angela family. Angela had always been aware of the pretense of being violated. Angela's family had known about it all along. Over the years, they used this as an excuse to repeatedly make things difficult for the Carter family. Thinking of their hypocritical and self-righteous expressions, the Carter family gritted their teeth in anger. Their original intention was to have Angela push me aside and marry into the Carter family, paving the way for Angela's family's future business. This time, the Carter family exhausted all their family resources to completely ruin Angela's family's business. Mr. Way was also imprisoned due to financial issues. Mrs. Carter came to see me several times, holding my hand and crying. If it weren't for Angela's family putting on an act, we wouldn't have stood by and watched Angela destroy your relationship with Philip without doing anything. I withdraw my hand. Mrs. Carter, isn't it a bit too late to say these things now? Mrs. Carter wiped away her tears and said cautiously, "Is there really no chance of reconciliation?" I shook my head. She lowered her head and sighed. "I know why she's like this. Because the current Philip is just like the Caroline of back then. People seem to have lost their souls, muddling through each day in a daze, completely neglecting everything at the company. I understand. A woman who ruined his sister's life is now carrying his child. After the child is born, he will not know how to face it. With Angela's persistence and madness, she will definitely use this child to pester Philip relentlessly. Philip kept saying your name. If you forgive him, he will get better." Mrs. Carter still refused to give up. "Auntie, if you're asking about Caroline's recovery, I welcome it. But if you're here to persuade me in your former mother-in-law capacity, then please leave." I gave the order to leave. Later, Caroline arrived. Philip has no interest in business, and now Caroline is taking over the family business. I glanced at her. "If you're here to plead for your brother as well, then save your breath." She shook her head. "I just came to ask, are we still friends? That incident back then, it was partly my fault. Don't you hate me?" I asked her in return. She smiled. Seeing her now able to speak openly about that past experience fills me with immense relief. Caroline has finally stepped out of the shadows of the past. "But you, because of my brother, have suffered a great deal too." I know she's referring to how Angela caused me to miscarry. "My brother has wronged you like this, and I have no face to ask you to get back together with him. Though he was also deceived." I shook my head. "Your brother's fault isn't being deceived, but his indecisiveness and selfishness. He knew exactly what Angela was trying to do, yet used guilt as an excuse, letting her hurt me and damage the trust between us. He wanted to shift his responsibility onto me, thinking the whole world should revolve around his feelings. He even wanted to have both his lover and his childhood sweetheart at the same time. In his eyes, I had to understand and support him. Even if I forgive him this time, he will do the same to me again in the future, because that's just human nature." Caroline lowered her head and pondered for a long time before finally saying, "You've studied human nature for so long, you must understand it best." According to Caroline, she relayed my words to Philip, and he was left speechless. From that day on, he finally stopped begging others to plead with me on his behalf. He understood that I would never turn back. Later, I heard that Angela gritted her teeth and gave birth to that child. Those with nothing to lose fear nothing. Angela's family indeed used that child to harass the Carters, causing many troubles. The Carters repeatedly claimed the child had nothing to do with them, even threatening to cut ties with Philip to stop Angela's family, but still ended up in chaos. The Carters' business also began to decline. I am immensely grateful that I extricated myself in time. I am now a partner at my mentor's clinic and have achieved significant academic success. I have also been invited to give guest lectures at universities abroad. At the airport, I unexpectedly ran into Caroline. She said with a bitter smile that she couldn't stand staying at home any longer and wanted to start over abroad. I'm happy for her. The Carter family's mess wasn't her doing, and it really shouldn't be her responsibility to clean it up. Let Philip stay in that quagmire by himself. Story 2. 5 months after the breakup, I ran into Bruce at the hospital's obstetrics department. I was wearing a loose maternity dress, my hair a mess. He was dressed in a sharp suit, standing next to his beautiful and elegant fiancée. "Bruce, do you know her?" The woman tugged at his sleeve. His indifferent gaze passed over me, landing on the man holding the pregnancy test results behind me. "Don't know him," Bruce said coldly. He walked past me, his arm around his fiancée. Later, my electric scooter brushed against his luxury car on the street. He looked at my swollen pregnant belly with disgust in his eyes. "Where is your husband? Let him come and discuss the compensation with me." I covered my bleeding wrist, feeling utterly lost and helpless. I'm not even married, so how could I have a husband? After getting pregnant, my eyesight has been getting worse and worse. I was walking by the roadside and got hit by an electric scooter coming straight at me. The man, seeing that I was pregnant, was utterly panicked. Even though I said I was fine, he insisted on taking me to the hospital for a checkup. He's a really good person. At the hospital, he was busy running around handling registration, blood tests, and examinations, sweating all over. Even the pregnant woman nearby teased, "Your husband is really good to you." I quickly explained, "He's not my husband. He accidentally bumped into me and brought me for a checkup." "Where's the father of the child?" the pregnant woman asked, somewhat puzzled. At a time like this, it's still best to have your husband by your side. Otherwise, if something really happens, it would be troublesome. Mentioning the child's father, my heart suddenly sank. "Bruce, I haven't seen him since we broke up. We were from two different worlds to begin with. Now everyone is back in their place. That's good, but sometimes the world is just this small." I had just turned around after getting the test results and ran right into Bruce face to face. My vision is fluctuating between good and bad these days. Yet, at this very moment, it is exceptionally clear. He was wearing a well-tailored suit that accentuated his tall and slender figure. Apart from being slightly thinner, his features remained as handsome as ever. The woman by his side, holding his arm, is beautiful in appearance and gentle in demeanor. Her attire is meticulously styled, from her dress down to every strand of her hair. Meanwhile, my loose maternity dress is stained with dirt. My hair is also disheveled from the fall. I've seen reports online about her marriage to Bruce. I knew she was the heiress of the Clarence family conglomerate, Dolores. She was worlds apart from me from the very beginning. Following Bruce's gaze, Dolores noticed me. He glanced me up and down, slightly furrowing his brows. She tugged at Bruce's sleeve. Her tone gentle. "Bruce, who is this? Do you know them?" I stood frozen in place, my legs heavy as lead, unable to move. I wanted to greet them casually and carefree, to praise how well matched they were, a perfect couple. But my throat was too choked with bitterness to make a sound. Bruce also remained silent. He indifferently shifted his gaze to the man behind me. The man who bumped into me was now holding various receipts, calculating the prices. I was so embarrassed and awkward that I wanted to flee in panic. I was afraid he would say anything that would embarrass me. Bruce simply replied in a calm voice, "I don't know you." He then wrapped his arm around Dolores' waist and walked past me, like strangers who had never known each other. No one could tell. Bruce and I once had a passionate love affair. We were high school classmates, in the same class and even shared a desk. Bruce came from a good family and was exceptionally good-looking. Many girls at school are chasing after him. Some send love letters, others confess their feelings directly. Bruce finds it all quite tiresome. He hired me to act as his girlfriend to ward off the admirers. The salary is quite generous, and I really do need the money. So Bruce hit it off right away. Every day after school, I just have to pretend to go on a date with him. He really likes the dessert shop near the school. I always order 2 small cakes, just for show. He doesn't eat them. He gives them all to me. He reads a book by himself. Thanks to him, I could fill my stomach every night. I also had a quiet place to study and do homework. We worked together very well. He got some peace and quiet, and I used that income to pay my college tuition smoothly. Perhaps it was a coincidence. We applied to the same university. Although we were in different majors, our academic buildings were not far apart. He was still very popular with the girls. I have an admirer now, Bruce. When Bruce proposed collaboration again, I turned him down, because I also want to experience the feeling of being in love. I am well aware of my situation. Once you graduate, romance becomes less pure. Your family background, your job, and your income all become factors that others consider. Bruce, after learning the reason, he still managed to persuade me. He said he could let me experience the feeling of being in love while also getting paid. This is indeed the best of both worlds. So we hit it off again. Bruce and I started dating like any ordinary couple in college, holding hands, eating together, watching movies. At first, I didn't have any feelings of romance. I thought it was no different from pretending to be a couple in high school, until Christmas of my sophomore year. My dorm and Bruce's dorm had a mixer. The game we were playing was Truth or Dare. Bruce drew a dare and had to passionately kiss someone of the opposite sex present. In the eyes of our classmates, he and I were a couple, so naturally, everyone egged us on. Bruce leaned in close and whispered softly in my ear, "Is that okay? If you mind, I'm willing to accept the punishment." His warm breath faded by my ear. A tingling sensation spread through. I clutched the hem of my clothes and nodded nervously. When the soft warmth of lips touched mine, my heart seemed to skip a beat. The cheers around me sounded distant, then close again. Bruce cupped the back of my head with his large hand, gently but firmly pulling me closer to him. His tongue gently pried open my teeth. The surrounding temperature suddenly rose, and my heartbeat began to accelerate. This kiss was more immersive and lingering than I had imagined. The relationship between him and me. It seemed that things began to change from this kiss. The wall of boundaries between us disappeared. Bruce began to kiss me as he pleased, while chatting, while reading, while holding hands and taking a walk. Even after missing a few classes, he would still take me to a secluded corner, kissing from my forehead to the tip of my nose, then my lips. I pushed him away, breathing heavily. "Bruce, are we?" Every time I come to my senses from the chaos and want to sort out our relationship with him, I get sidetracked by his forceful kisses. He kisses me, mumbling vague confessions. Bruce said he had wanted to kiss me for a long time, ever since the first time he met me. He endured it for 4 whole years. He wanted to confess in high school, but I had an unapproachable aura. He was afraid that if he failed, there would be no second chance. He could only use a fake romance as a pretense. After entering university, he intended to confess seriously. But I kept pushing him away with my distant attitude. Even though we spent 3 years together in high school, I always acted cold and detached. It seems like I'm not really close to him. Bruce retreated again. He's afraid that if he fails, they won't even be friends anymore. But how could I not like him? He is so dazzling, as radiant as the moon amidst the clouds. I just never dared to imagine that someone or something so perfect could ever belong to me. After confirming each other's feelings, Bruce and I quickly fell into a passionate romance. No more cautious touches or hesitant tests. We gave each other the most complete versions of ourselves. After graduation, Bruce started an internship at his family's company. I also found a job not far from him. Our relationship was discovered by Bruce's parents. He is the Ernest family's only son. Our family backgrounds are as different as clouds and mud, since I couldn't meet his family's approval. He was willing to give up everything for me and rebel against the Ernest family. Mr. Ernest deliberately suppressed him, and Bruce left the Ernest family, unable to even find a decent job. I was also fired one after another by the companies I applied to. Even so, he was unwilling to give in. Once so pampered, he began delivering takeout through harsh winds and scorching heat. Those days were tough for us, yet we were happy. I finally seemed to feel the warmth of home. No arguments, no cold. Empty stove. Bruce goes out to work every day, and I stay home to clean and cook. Even if it's just a bowl of noodles, I make sure it's steaming hot when Bruce holds it in his hands. At night, we lay in bed, snuggling together, talking heart to heart and being affectionate. It felt as long as we held each other, any difficulty would simply vanish. Unfortunately, such happiness didn't last long. Days passed one after another. I could see Bruce's eyes that once shone like a galaxy of stars. Gradually, the light dimmed and was filled with weariness. When we held hands and lay in bed chatting, he often fell into a deep sleep after just a few words. Too tired to continue, I caressed his palm, a hand that was once more delicate than a woman's, now covered in rough calluses. So when Bruce's mother came to our rented apartment, I didn't listen to Bruce and hide away. I was in the simple house, and I found some broken tea leaves to brew a cup of tea for her. These broken tea leaves are usually used by Bruce to refresh himself. Bruce's mother did not show any look of disdain. She took the tea and said thank you warmly and kindly. Although she is a wealthy lady, she does not carry the haughty demeanor often seen in TV dramas. Instead, she is graceful and gentle. Speaking in a way that is as soothing as a spring breeze, she said, "Georgia, you are a good girl. Such a small room, yet you've cleaned it so thoroughly and made it feel so cozy. Auntie can see that you and Bruce are truly in love. If I had the final say, I would certainly support you too." She paused and let out a soft sigh. Although Bruce is the only legitimate son, his father has countless illegitimate children outside. Bruce once abandoned by his father, he would truly fall from being the apple of everyone's eye to mud that anyone could step on. As a mother, I see Bruce's love for you. But you, Georgia, do you really love him? Bruce's mother's words made me feel utterly ashamed. It made me realize how selfish I had been. The weather in February was still chilly, with a hint of early warmth. Sitting in an unheated room wearing a cotton coat, I still feel so hot that I'm sweating. I once believed that love could conquer all difficulties. only to find that my love has dragged a bright moon into the murky water. I've decided to let go, return the bright moon to the night sky. I gave up the apartment, blocked all his contact information, and hid away, but Bruce still found me, with reddened eyes. He asked me why I gave up. I ask you in return, without the earnest family, what can you give me if I'm with you, a life of abundance, or a promising future? I looked coldly at his stunned expression, my tone calm. Bruce, I don't want to act anymore. I thought by winning you over, I could defy fate and leap across social classes. I never imagined it would be this hard. Bruce, just let me go. I want to take advantage of my youth, while I still have some charm left, marry someone from a better family than mine, have children early and live a good life. I watched Bruce's eyes gradually lose their light. He spoke, his voice hoarse. Are you with me for the Ernest family's money? I sneered. What else, if you had no money? We wouldn't even have started. Isn't that what you know best? Only the wealthy can afford to be sentimental. For someone like me, born into poverty, just surviving takes all my effort. How could you ever expect me to have a sincere heart? Even though I had already spoken all the humiliating words, Bruce still approached humbly, his large hand gripping my wrist. Georgia, just give me a little more time. Even without the Ernest family's money, I can still give you a good life. I resisted the urge to look at Bruce's hurt and disappointed expression. Shaking off his hand, she continued to mock. I don't want to wait any longer. Without money, love is nothing but hardship. When you hold me, all I can smell is the stench of sweat. In a soundproofless rental room, I don't even dare to make a sound. Bruce, why don't you go back and be your family's crown prince? Accept the wife arranged by your family, who is of equal social status. If you really like me that much, I'll be your mistress. Isn't it good to have both money and love? In that instant, Bruce lost all color from his face. Georgia, you disgust me. With trembling hands, he pulled the silver plain band from his finger and threw it to the ground. Wishing you an early arrival at the life you desire. Bruce drove away, and I crouched down, picked up the silver ring stained with mud, muttering through tears, wishing you a future as bright as the stars. I found out I was pregnant, half a month after we broke up. My periods have always been irregular, but it was indeed a bit unusual to have missed it for 2 months. It wasn't until I went to the hospital for a checkup that I found out I was already 7 weeks pregnant. I can't bear to have an abortion. Not just because of Bruce, I still have many relatives in this world, but there is no one left who loves me. There are many kinds of love in this world. Yet only a child's love for their parents is the most selfless and pure. It is an instinct that does not weigh gains and losses. Because of this selfishness, I kept the child. In the early stages of pregnancy, I was still mobile and able to take on many light part-time jobs. I don't have high material desires, so while taking care of myself, I was also able to save some money. By the 4th month of pregnancy, my vision suddenly deteriorated. Sometimes my vision becomes blurry, making it difficult to move around freely. The doctor says it's due to pregnancy hormones, and it might get worse in the later stages. It might recover after childbirth, or it might not, requiring surgical intervention, so I want to save as much money as possible before giving birth. After leaving the hospital, I ran into a man. Before leaving, he slipped 1,000 yuan into my hand. He said, "You're so young, pregnant, and with no one to take care of you. It's really pitiful. From now on, be more careful when you walk." I thanked him and accepted it. When you're struggling, there's no need to refuse money for the sake of dignity. After that day, life went on as usual. When my eyesight was good, I would go out to do part-time work. When times are tough, I take on some copywriting work from home. Perhaps fate wasn't finished with us yet. In just 10 short days, I ran into Bruce again. My electric scooter scraped against his Maybach, while turning right on my bike. My vision suddenly deteriorated. This time, I could barely see anything. I fell off my bike along with it. From the sound, it seemed like the handlebars of the electric bike had scraped the car door. Fortunately, as I fell, I managed to brace myself with my hands against the ground. My stomach was fine, but my wrist was scraped raw, burning with pain. I knew the injury to my wrist was serious. Warm liquid kept welling up from it. I didn't realize it was Bruce I had bumped into. With no time to tend to the wound, I could only clutch it tightly with my hand, not even knowing where the person was. I just kept bowing and apologizing to a blurry image, until Bruce spoke up. "Where is your husband?" Hearing his voice, I froze, my whole body stiffening. I never imagined that after breaking up, each time I saw Bruce again, it would be more embarrassing than the last. My husband. I think he mistook the man who knocked me down that day for my husband. That's fine too. Might as well go with the flow. He's very busy, at work. Bruce laughed in extreme anger. After 3 years together, I clearly knew this was the precursor to his rage. Work. He works so hard, and still can't make any money. making you hand out flyers while you're pregnant. I suppose the flyers in my bike basket must have scattered, and Bruce saw them. Call him now, tell him to come and discuss compensation with me. Yes, back in the rental days when life was tough. Bruce couldn't bear to let me go out to work. He said he could make money and support me. He was indeed very smart and hardworking. Even when delivering takeout, he could earn more than others. He would spend time studying the routes, and could quickly memorize even the most complex maps. He delivered orders faster and in greater numbers than others. As soon as he earned money, he would transfer it to me right away. The most common sweet nothings said in WeChat every day are, Georgia, buy whatever you want, buy more delicious food and put on some weight, you're too thin, it's uncomfortable to hold you, don't save money for your husband. Thinking of the past, my eyes grew hot, afraid I might cry in front of him. I could only quickly fumble for my phone. How much does it cost to fix the car? I'll pay for it. Let's settle this privately. I'm in a hurry now. I heard Bruce scoff. There was helplessness, or perhaps mockery. Is this the life you wanted? I clutched my phone, my cheeks burning, unsure how to respond. My vision suddenly cleared, and I saw Bruce's gaze fall on my pregnant belly. His eyes held an unmistakable look of disgust. Fortunately, Dolores in the passenger seat got out of the car and approached in time. She affectionately linked arms with Bruce. Bruce, what's wrong with you today? Dolores said in a gentle tone, with a hint of coquettishness. Life is already hard enough. Why are you being so nitpicky? A small scratch on the paint won't cost much to fix. Maybe just let it go. With his fiancée's gentle persuasion, Bruce finally eased his expression. He nodded slightly and withdrew his arm, seemingly not wanting to engage with me further. Bruce turned and got back into the car. Dolores chuckled softly as she looked at me, her eyes lighting up. It's you. I think we met at the hospital. You're pregnant, so you should still rest well at home. Making money isn't something that needs to be rushed right now. Her voice was pleasant, like a clear spring flowing gently over the heart. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also kind-hearted, and she even helped me pick up my electric scooter. Be careful when riding, not just for your own sake. Also for the baby in my belly. Tilda. I let go to steady the bike, the wound on my wrist still bleeding. Drop by drop, it fell to the ground, splattering into blood blossoms. Dolores let out a startled cry. Tilda, your wound is still bleeding. She turned to look at Bruce. Bruce, should we take her to the hospital? Bruce looked over, his gaze falling on my wound. I quickly covered it up. It's nothing, just a minor injury. I'll go back and bandage it up. Bruce averted his gaze and said to Dolores indifferently, get in the car. Dolores turned around, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing at the corner of her lips. I'm sorry, my fiancé is a bit of a neat freak. She turned and got into the car, her hair brushing past with a faint fragrance. Really, I'm quite happy for Bruce. Someone as wonderful as him deserves an equally wonderful woman. Bruce's car, however, did not start. He leaned slightly forward, looking past Dolores toward me. Get in the car. I was a bit surprised, and Dolores also looked at Bruce with some astonishment. I quickly waved my hand. No need, I can manage on my own. Bruce interrupted impatiently. Go to the hospital for a checkup to avoid any disputes later. So that's what he was worried about. Don't worry. I'm already grateful that you're not asking me for compensation. How could I possibly extort you? After saying that, I gave them a slight bow. I got on my electric bike and practically fled in a panic. When I got home that evening and was cleaning and bandaging the wound on my wrist, the door was knocked. Opening the door, a strong smell of alcohol rushed in. Bruce was standing outside the door. He stood tall and straight, having regained his former radiance, dazzling and completely out of place with the tube-shaped apartment building. I was a bit dazed and asked him, "What are you doing here?" His eyes were dark, his voice cold. "I'm not here for you, I'm looking for your husband." Without waiting for my nod, Bruce slipped past me into the house. He glanced around the surroundings, his handsome brows furrowing. "Where is he?" I lowered my gaze, my voice faint. "He's working overtime. Call him and tell him to come back." Bruce sat on the sofa, his chest heaving, emotions restrained. I naturally don't have a so-called husband to act in this play with me. Even less do I want to catch up with Bruce when I'm in such a sorry state. I clenched my palm. "What are you looking for him for? If it's about compensation for the car repair, I'll transfer it to you right now. If not, you can leave now. As former lovers, now you have a fiancé, and I have a husband. We are not in a relationship where we can sit together and talk calmly." I opened the door and raised my hand to see the guest out. Bruce stood up, strode closer, and slammed the door shut with a push. "What am I here for? You're actually defending him. I came to ask your good husband, ask if he's even a man." Damn it, making his pregnant wife go out to work. He irritably loosened his collar, planting his hands on his hips and pacing to vent his anger. "Georgia, Weren't you going to marry someone well off based on your looks? Is this the man you found? How long has it been since we broke up, and you're already pregnant with his child? Can't you live without a man? Bruce's words made me gasp for air, my mind went blank, and a sour sensation surged up my nostrils. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. His face was knocked to the side. My hand also froze in mid-air. I never thought I would raise a hand against the only person who ever truly cherished me, and I never imagined he would speak to me with such harsh words. Looking at me again, Bruce was filled with remorse and self-blame. I'm sorry, Georgia. I'm sorry. He pulled me into his embrace, his arms tightly wrapping around my shoulders. I couldn't break free. I could only let him bury his face in the crook of my neck, muttering apologies over and over. Bruce was asleep, in my arms. I struggled with great effort to help him onto the bed. I sat by the bedside, watching his sleeping face. He had lost weight, even more than 5 months ago. His jawline has become sharper, and his eyes and brows exude coldness. I still prefer the old Bruce. Because I clearly know that the current Bruce doesn't belong to me. His phone kept ringing over and over. It's all Dolores calling. I can't answer, nor can I let Bruce stay over. A resolution I've finally made. Finally, we each found our peace, after hesitating for a long time. I still dialed the phone of Bruce's mother. She quickly brought someone to take Bruce away. Before leaving, her gaze lingered on my pregnant belly. I was already on the slender side. And my baby bump was smaller than others at the same stage of pregnancy. It might not be possible to tell how far along I was just by looking. After a long while, she only exchanged a few pleasantries with me. How have you been lately? If you need money, you can ask me. Don't go to Bruce, I replied. Don't worry. I won't take the initiative to contact him. Mrs. Ernest nodded and asked, how did Bruce fall asleep? He must have drunk a lot before coming here. Didn't do anything else. Mrs. Ernest looked suspicious. I felt offended and stroked my pregnant belly. I'm pregnant. Mrs. Ernest waved her hand. Don't get me wrong, Bruce. She paused for a moment. I haven't been sleeping well lately. I was just asking casually. Mrs. Ernest patted my shoulder, her tone polite yet distant. You did well, but if there's a next time, I suggest you don't open the door for Bruce. The little girl from Clarence's family has a narrow mind and is prone to suspicion. Lacks the heart to tolerate others. After saying this, her gaze once again fell on my belly. Take good care of yourself. Mrs. Ernest left. That night, I dreamed of Bruce again. The only difference was that in the dream, it was no longer just him and me. Dolores also appeared. While Bruce and I were playing around in that rented room, Dolores pushed the door open and entered. She was sobbing pitifully, asking Bruce why he had done something to betray her. Accusing me of interfering in her relationship with Bruce. She is the despicable other woman. I woke from my dream, drenched in cold sweat. The embarrassing labels mistress. The other woman appeared countless times in my childhood. My mother was the other woman. She always complained that the heavens had given her a beautiful face, but not a good family background, so not long after I was born. She had an affair with a small business owner. I was only 3 years old when his wife came to our door and confronted her, crying her heart out, watching the legal wife tear at her clothes and hair, spitting at her, calling her a homewrecker, a seductress. My father found out about the disgraceful things she had done, yet he couldn't bring himself to get a divorce. He was both infatuated with his mother's beauty and disgusted by her infidelity. His insults were even harsher than those from outsiders. Words like tramp and slut were things I heard almost every day. They are entangled in their own love and hatred. For me, their daughter, there is neither a sense of debt nor love. Perhaps due to my unique family background, I have always been emotionally stable. I remain indifferent to everything and find it hard to get interested in anything. Only Bruce's appearance stirred a ripple in my otherwise calm and uneventful life. He was different from all the other boys in the class. He didn't look me up and down because of my early physical development, nor did he creep up to ask if my mom was a mistress. His scent is always fresh and pleasant. When our eyes meet, there's a faint smile on his face, neither intrusive nor distant. Leaning against the headboard for a long time, I thought, I should move out. The lease hasn't expired yet, so I probably won't get the deposit back. The landlady seemed a bit regretful. She tried to persuade me to stay, saying, I really took a liking to you. Your room is always kept neat and tidy. How about this? I'll lower the rent a bit, and you can keep living here. I thought about it and still refused. I understand Bruce. He already knows where I live. He will come again. I don't want him to know I'm still single. I don't want him to know that the child I'm carrying is his. Otherwise, the same story will repeat itself. A few days later, I had almost finished packing my luggage. Dolores actually came to my door. She was wearing a moon-white long dress, with slightly wavy long hair. Her words remained gentle and appropriate. Miss Georgia, may I speak with you? the door closed, leaving only the two of us in the small room. She saw the large and small bags of luggage on the ground and smiled at me. "Miss Georgia, are you planning to move?" I nodded, and she let out a light scoff. "You should know. Bruce will find you no matter where you move if he wants to. Georgia, if you really want to cut off his hopes, then get married." I looked up in astonishment as she walked to the sofa and sat down by herself. He handed me a document folder. "This is Fidel's information." "Oh, that's the man who bumped into you the other day. Take a look, he's quite a catch, a good match for you." Dolores paused for a moment and softly uttered a few words. "More than enough." She raised the corner of her eye and smiled at me, the same gentle smile, yet completely different from the one she showed in front of Bruce. Seeing that I wasn't opening the envelope, she continued to introduce, "Mr. Fidel, 30 years old, divorced, single, and childless. He's a local, owns a house and a car. By the way, he's infertile, so he won't mind that you have a child." I couldn't listen any longer and threw the document folder back to her. "MS. Georgia, what are you afraid of? I'm just not from the same world as you people." MS. Georgia has so little confidence. "Do you think a pregnant woman like me could steal Bruce away?" Dolores' smile froze at the corner of her lips. She seemed to have no intention of continuing the argument with me and directly pulled out a card, slapping it onto the coffee table. 1 million, if I'm not mistaken. "Georgia, you are in desperate need of money. You don't want Bruce to clash with his family again because of you. Just take the money and do what you need to do." Dolores is right, I really do need the money. If time could rewind 5 months, I would have proudly thrown the card back. But now, I looked down at my swollen pregnant belly. I am not afraid of hardship, but my child cannot suffer along with me. I paused for a moment, then reached out my hand to Dolores. 5 million. I have no intention of getting married, but I will play along with this act of yours. Afterwards, I will leave this city. So that MS. Georgia will have no more worries. Dolores raised her eyebrows slightly, her eyes showing disdain. "You certainly know how to ask for the moon." She stood up and brushed her dress, as if she had gotten something dirty on it. "I'll transfer the money to you tonight. You and Mr. Fidel had better get to know each other better. Don't let Bruce see through the act." Dolores transferred the remaining money into my account that very night, as promised. Taking money means solving problems for others. I pondered this for a long time. I proactively added Fidel on WeChat. Dolores must have bribed him with money in advance, so he knows better than I do what needs to be done. We met a few times and exchanged some basic information. Fidel has a medium build and regular features. He has a decent appearance and demeanor. Wearing a suit makes him look sharp and capable. I once told Bruce about my criteria for choosing a partner: a local, with a harmonious family. Decent character and appearance are enough. Seems to match Fidel quite well. That must also be why Bruce mistook him for my husband. A few days later, Fidel and I took the initiative to visit Bruce's company. After explaining our purpose, the receptionist made a phone call. The secretary led us to the meeting room. "Bruce is quite busy now. He only showed up after more than half an hour of waiting." Fidel stood up awkwardly. Bruce was on a call and just waved his hand to signal him to sit down. He hung up the phone and sat on the sofa opposite us, crossing his long legs. "What is it?" Bruce glanced at me, his expression indifferent, showing no emotional fluctuation. "Mr. Bruce, I'm sorry to disturb you." Fidel nodded to Bruce and placed a neatly stacked pile of banknotes on the coffee table. "Continue with the prearranged lines. I heard from my wife after I got back. I just found out she accidentally scraped." Bruce frowned almost imperceptibly. Lacking the patience to hear Fidel finish, he waved his hand to interrupt. "I'll have my assistant follow up with you about the car repairs. If there's nothing else, you may leave." Bruce didn't look at us again and stood up to walk toward the door. His attitude was so indifferent that I felt it was somewhat unnecessary to ask Fidel to put on this act. But Fidel insisted on finishing the performance. "I heard from my wife that you two used to be together, Mr. Bruce. We are living very happily now, although not extremely wealthy. Both Georgia and I are very content. So Mr. Bruce, we hope you will no longer disturb our lives." Bruce paused in his steps and turned back to look at us. With a calm and composed expression, he said, "I did feel somewhat resentful before, but now I see Georgia living the life she wanted. I wish her well." He looked at me and nodded with a light smile. The smile held the relief of having weathered countless storms, as if his loss of composure that drunken night was merely a dream of mine. The stone in my chest fell to the ground, and my heart plummeted with it. After Bruce left, Fidel was somewhat puzzled. "Mr. Bruce is quite rational. MS. Georgia, is it really necessary to go to such lengths?" I took a breath and found my voice again. "Marriage alliances between wealthy families, it's normal to be cautious. I'll have to trouble Mr. Fidel to finish the act and see me back." Fidel nodded with a simple smile. "Of course, help someone to the end. escort the Buddha to the west. Leaving the reception room, I asked Fidel to wait for me downstairs. I'll go to the bathroom by myself. As the pregnancy progresses, the more months along I am, the more frequent the urge to urinate becomes. After finishing, my vision blurred again. It seems I've also figured out some patterns. My vision is affected not only by pregnancy hormones but also fluctuates with my emotions. Fortunately, I have gradually adapted and no longer feel as panicked and lost as before. I felt my way along the wall and made it out of the bathroom. I heard footsteps approaching. I reached out my hand and took the initiative to ask for help. "Hello, my eyesight isn't very good. Could you please help me get downstairs?" As the blurry figure approached, a familiar scent also enveloped me. I froze in place, at a loss for what to do. I felt like fate was playing a cruel joke on me, making my last meeting with Bruce so awkward and humiliating. "What happened to your eyes?" Bruce spoke, his voice trembling slightly. I'm trying hard to suppress my emotions, keeping my tone calm. "Hormonal changes are affecting my vision. It comes and goes. It'll get better after giving birth. It's fine. I can go downstairs by myself." I was about to withdraw my hand, but it was firmly grasped by Bruce's large hand. "I'll walk you." Bruce said nothing more. He held my hand, walking at a very slow pace. Our familiar body temperatures mingled, and all my senses were infinitely heightened. His breath was so close, and his heartbeat just as intense. It seemed we both understood that this would be the last stretch of the road we would walk together. So both Bruce and I tacitly stopped speaking. He walked me downstairs, delivered to Fidel's side. He didn't let go immediately. His palm tightened slightly as he bid me farewell. "Georgia, live well. Take good care of yourself." I nodded, freeing my hand from his before the tears could well up. Life returned to calm. No one disturbed me anymore. I had a love that was unforgettable. In exchange for a carefree life in the later years, seems like a pretty good deal. Even though, in the dead of night, I still think of Bruce, and those happy days in the rented apartment. But life must go on. And the past will eventually become the past. I bought a plane ticket and left the city as promised. I have no plans to return. Before leaving, I went to see my parents. They are just like when they were young, arguing, cursing, fighting, and making up after just a few words. As if nothing in the world matters except their tangled love and hatred. It's fine, they don't love me. But they don't control me either. What I become depends entirely on my own will. Even when they saw me return pregnant, they didn't pay much attention. My mother's words carried an implied message for me. "Georgia, I gave you a beautiful appearance, not for you to waste it. Whose child it is doesn't matter. But when looking for a husband, find a rich one." You know, my father sneered. "Don't listen to your mother's nonsense. The most important thing for a woman is to be virtuous and know her place. Being poor doesn't matter, but you must keep your dignity. Don't follow in your mother's footsteps." Using her looks to break up families and be a homewrecker, they were arguing again, and unpleasant memories from the past resurfaced. My stomach tightened with tension. When I left, they didn't notice. Dragging my suitcase, I arrived at the airport alone. I looked down at my swollen belly. In 5 more months, I won't be alone anymore. I will give my child a lot of love. I'll make up for the part one never had. 2. Before boarding, Bruce's mother stopped me with some people. She said Bruce and Dolores are getting married soon. At such a critical moment, she didn't want any mishaps to occur. She already knows that the child in my belly is Bruce's, so we absolutely cannot let Bruce find out about this. She wants to send me abroad, and once everything is settled, I can return to the country. She would also provide me with generous compensation, ensuring that my child and I would live comfortably for the rest of our lives. Of course, if I preferred life abroad. She could also help me with immigration procedures. I had no reason to refuse. After all, I'm alone, so it doesn't matter where I go. I was Bruce's mother sent to London to give birth. All the procedures were handled by her, perhaps out of consideration for the child in my womb. Aside from arranging my accommodation, she also hired a Chinese nanny to take care of my daily needs. The aunt is very efficient in her work and doesn't talk much, nor does she ask many questions about me. She seemed to understand my identity and comforted me, saying that many wealthy people in the country arrange things this way. She told me not to be too burdened by a sense of morality and to just enjoy life. I chuckled wryly and didn't bother to explain or argue. Life here is quite relaxed and comfortable compared to the hardships of the past, but the weather is always gloomy, making it hard to breathe. I still prefer being back home. I think after Bruce Dolores gets married, I'll return to China and find a small city with a slow pace of life to live well with my child. I often follow domestic news, but unfortunately, by the time I gave birth, I still hadn't seen Bruce's wedding announcement. Lying on the delivery bed, as the contractions surged, my vision blurred and cleared intermittently. The midwife held my hand and encouraged me in English. I think I was in so much pain that I started hallucinating. In a daze, the midwife standing by my side turned into Bruce. He leaned down, gazing at me with tender eyes. He said, "Georgia, cheer up, we will soon have a child of our own." When the delivery room echoed with the baby's loud cry, my vision was also blurred. After regaining consciousness, there was no sign of Bruce in the delivery room. I knew it had been my hallucination. The midwife placed the tiny, bundled baby into my arms. "I'm really happy for you." A wrinkled, pinkish little bundle, not pretty, yet my eyes welled up. "This is the child belonging to me and Bruce. I gave birth to a girl, named Anna. I only wish her a smooth and healthy life. The nanny took very good care of me during my postpartum confinement. My eyesight has finally recovered. Everything is moving in a positive direction." On the afternoon of my daughter's 100th day, I held her in the backyard to bask in the sun. Bruce suddenly appeared before me. Just like in the hallucination that day, his eyes were tender as he smiled at me. He reached out and hugged me. "Let me hold our daughter." Before I could react, he skillfully and naturally took Anna into his arms. Bruce looked down at the pink, well-behaved daughter in his arms, a smile curling at the corner of his lips. "Anna's eyes and eyebrows look more like mine. The mouth is like yours, so small." I stood to the side, my throat aching, emotions surging, but I still couldn't help asking him, "How did you know I was here?" "Your fiancée, Dolores." Bruce frowned and handed Anna to the nanny. He pulled me into his arms and bit my lip in dissatisfaction. "Do you have to ruin the moment right now? I've done what I needed to do." So my collaboration with her naturally came to an end. Collaboration? What collaboration? I asked, puzzled. Bruce raised an eyebrow. "Just like your collaboration with Fidel." He suddenly remembered something and was quite displeased. "But that guy went a bit too far, calling her wife all the time. I haven't even called you that yet." It was from Bruce that I learned he was engaged to Dolores. It was made clear from the very beginning that this was a mutually beneficial cooperation. Bruce aimed to lull Mr. Ernest into a false sense of security by promoting his own people within the company, preparing to seize power. As for Dolores, her demand was simple, 2% of the company's equity once Bruce became the actual controller. What should have been a win-win cooperation was ruined when Dolores became overly ambitious. However, it was precisely because of this that Bruce noticed something unusual. He took in all the results of the investigation conducted by Dolores. Then he secretly arranged for my mother to send me abroad, so he could focus on dealing with the old guards in the company and my father's illegitimate child. Now that he holds the real power in the company, Bruce has nothing to hide anymore. His life, his marriage, he could now make all the decisions himself. I asked him, "If you hadn't met me in the hospital, if it weren't for that unexpected car accident, would we have missed each other just like that?" Bruce denied it. He told me very seriously, "Even on the day we broke up, he truly believed those hurtful, heart-wrenching words you said, but in his heart, he never gave up on our relationship. He was even convinced that, apart from him, I would never fall in love with anyone else. He wanted to grow his wings as quickly as possible before coming back to me, but he never expected that by the time we met again, I was already pregnant. And the one following behind me was exactly the kind of partner I had described to him countless times before. That's why he lost his composure and said things he didn't mean. It was only after drinking that he mustered the courage to knock on my door. It was also from that night that he realized my husband and my marriage might be fake. Fortunately, fate had its way. We did not miss each other. I and Bruce brought Anna back to the country. We didn't hold a wedding. Bruce and I just simply got our marriage certificate. But I knew that the sense of security he gave me was far more reliable than a grand wedding. Mrs. Ernest really liked Anna, saying it made up for her regret of not having a daughter. As for Bruce's father, I never got to meet him. I only heard Bruce say that after retiring, he settled in Sonia to enjoy his later years. On the other hand, Dolores, I occasionally run into her at gatherings. She married a husband of equal social standing in an arranged marriage, still exquisitely beautiful, yet a weariness always inadvertently shows in the depths of her eyes. Around her husband, there are no shortage of ambitious young women. It always requires her to expend energy and money to fend them off. Bruce is somewhat annoyed, thinking her vicious. I patted Bruce to soothe him. "Where's the malice?" 5 million. Clearly, she's a bodhisattva. Bruce, dissatisfied, pinned me down. "Am I only worth 5 million? What if I give you 1 billion now? You have to take it whether you want it or not."